I have some very, very good news. I've been working on it for months and finally it's here, my fairy tale ebook. Hallo, herzlich willkommen. Ich bin Katrin und wir lernen natürlich Deutsch. My ebook is here. You can check it out now. The link is in the description box or in the pinned comment. But if you're not sure about the ebook yet, or if you have no idea what I'm talking about because you haven't watched my videos in the last few months or read my posts, then I invite you to watch the whole video. In the first half, I'm going to explain what I included in the ebook, and then the second half, probably more than half of it, will be me explaining you how to use the story as self-study material. You can exactly see how you can learn with the story instead of just reading through those 20 sentences and that's it, because that's not worth the 25 euros. But if you take all the exercises and all the ideas that I give you with the ebook, then each story will take you, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 hours to complete, although you can't really complete a story because there will always be something that you can work even more with. Also, was ist im Buch? What's in the book? We have 18 different fairy tales. They are all from the Grimm brothers, and you probably will know most of them already. There is, for example, Snow White, Cinderella, Rapunzel, but also a few lesser known fairy tales, for example, Der Fischer und seine Frau. We have 4 pages total for each story. 1 page with the story itself, 20 sentences, and then 3 pages with exercises and ideas how to work with the story. You also get an audio version of the story, which will help you to just practice your listening comprehension and also your pronunciation. I also included 2 pages just in general how to work with stories. If you haven't read my first ebook, it's similar, not quite the same, but similar. And the new thing is also I included a challenge. So at the very end of the book, there is a fairy tale challenge where you can repeat the stuff you learned and maybe also get some ideas where to go next, which fairy tales I didn't include in the ebook. And you can get all of that as a package for only 25 euros. And if you think about that, with all this material, you can spend hours and hours and hours of self-studying. And another thing that I can't forget is that I also offer sessions for each fairy tale. It's a very new thing that I just had this idea and thought, well, this might work. So you can sign up for a 1-hour lesson. It's just this one time. And we go through one of the fairy tales. Of course, we cannot cover everything that you could get out of this ebook. Just like I said, if you really use the material, you can get 2, 3, 4 hours self-study time out of it. But I can answer your questions and you can see how I thought the material can be used, how you can use the material in your self-study time. And maybe that helps you to guide you through the other stories as well. Aber jetzt fangen wir an. Das Märchen ist Hänsel und Gretel. At the very beginning, I would suggest you to just read through the story, not stop at any words that you don't understand. Just read through the whole thing, and that's what we're going to do now. Hänsel und Gretel. Hänsel und Gretel sind Geschwister. Ihre Familie hat kein Essen. Die Eltern bringen die Kinder in den Wald. Hänsel und Gretel müssen im Wald bleiben. Sie laufen oder sie gehen lange durch den Wald. Sie haben großen Hunger. Hänsel sieht ein kleines Haus. Das Haus ist kein normales Haus. Das Haus ist aus Kuchen. Im Haus wohnt eine böse Hexe. Sie will die Kinder kochen und essen. Gretel muss im Haus helfen und Feuer machen. Hänsel soll dick werden und muss viel essen. Die Kinder haben Angst. Die Hexe schaut in den Ofen. Das Feuer ist fertig und sehr heiß. Die Hexe will Hänsel in den Ofen werfen. Aber Gretel hat eine Idee. Gretel wirft die Hexe in den heißen Ofen. Jetzt muss die Hexe kochen und die Kinder sind frei. So now, after you read the story, you might know the story a little bit from somewhere else, and then you can compare the story. If you don't know the story beforehand, then you still might understand something through the context of the story. So after reading it, my question to you is, was hast du verstanden? What did you understand? And there will be something, at least something. For example, es gibt Hänsel und Gretel. Hänsel und Gretel sind Kinder. Und das Haus ist aus Kuchen. Das Haus ist Essen. Oder man kann das Haus essen. Something like that. And if it's just that little bit, then that's fine for the first time. Maybe you need to look up some more words to understand more of the story. But if you get at least a few sentences, that's great. You don't have to understand every word to understand the story. And that's really important to remember. Now, if there are some words that you don't understand and you want to find out what they mean, let's say Geschwister and Ofen, you can either figure it out through context. For example, Hänsel und Gretel, you know they are children, you know they are from one family. So Geschwister is siblings. They are siblings. Ofen, that might be a little more challenging. Die Hexe schaut in den Ofen. So she's looking somewhere, you don't know where yet. Then das Feuer ist fertig, so something about a fire. Und dann Hänsel soll in den Ofen. So Hänsel should go somewhere where the fire is. And then you can guess, okay, where could the fire be? Oh yeah, the fire could be in an oven. So, you know, Ofen means oven. I mean, maybe that's not the best example because it's really, really close to the English word, but I hope that you can understand what I'm trying to say. Now, if you've understood the story, or if you think you understood the story, you can go to the next page. On this page, we have questions, we have exercises, and then some more information. Sometimes down here, I do list some vocabulary that is just really hard to get through context or some words that we don't use that often. Here, I'm giving the word der Lebkuchen, which means gingerbread. In the story itself, I used Kuchen. But if you're reading the story somewhere else, you will probably stumble across the word Lebkuchen, and that's why I included it here in the info. Dann die Fragen. Let's go through a few of them. Bleiben Hänsel und Gretel zu Hause bei ihrer Familie? So now you have to remember the story and you can answer this question even, for example, in German, that would be best. But if that's still too hard for you, you can also answer in English or in your native language. Bleiben Hänsel und Gretel zu Hause bei ihrer Familie? Nein, sie bleiben nicht bei der Familie. Sie gehen in den Wald. Oder sie müssen im Wald bleiben. There are many different ways to answer this question. For example, also the second one, wer in der Geschichte ist böse? Die Hexe ist böse, vielleicht auch die Eltern sind böse. So there are different ways to go with those questions. But they are very specific and just make sure that you did understand the story. Die Aufgaben, the exercises, they are more vague and you can adjust them to your level of German. For example, this one. Imagine you know the way back to Hänsel and Gretel's house. Describe it to them. Rechts, links, vor, hinter, zwischen, etc. So you're just coming up with an area where they are. Let's say here's the small house, das Lebkuchenhaus, and here's the house where they need to go. And now use everything that you already know, because that's how you will remember the vocabulary. Let's say you know the word Bank, die Bank, bench, die Bank. Oder der Baum, der Baum. What else? Der Fluss vielleicht. Der Fluss oder die Brücke. Brücke. And you can even come up with silly stuff. So let's say you want to include the word church, die Kirche. It's just that's a word that you just learned and you want to include it. Then why not die Kirche? Und die Giraffe. For some reason you learned giraffe, die Giraffe, and now you're including that. It doesn't have to make sense. It's just for you to practice. That doesn't look like a giraffe, but whatever. Also, jetzt können wir den Weg beschreiben. Now we can describe the path. Also, Hänsel und Gretel gehen bis zur Giraffe. Vielleicht nicht. Hänsel und Gretel gehen geradeaus. Sie gehen geradeaus bis zur Giraffe. Dann gehen sie nach links. Sie gehen nach links. An der Giraffe gehen sie nach links. Hänsel und Gretel gehen zwischen dem Baum und der Bank entlang. Oder sie laufen zwischen dem Baum und der Bank. Der Baum ist rechts, die Bank ist links. You can include all the sentences that you can make. The exercise is to practice words like left and right and in between and stuff like that. And one last thing that I included, or one important thing, is the QR codes. Not every story has one, but most of them. And when you go through here, you can find oftentimes a video on my channel for this specific fairy tale. It's a children's song. Maybe you've watched this video before. I can link it here again. Down here, there's also a little box with the level. That's just if you want to practice one specific thing. For example, let's say you do think about grammar things. I know some of you do, some of you don't and just want to learn it naturally. That's totally fine. But let's say you are a person that sometimes learns the traditional way, looks up some grammar, and now you figure out, well, Modalverben. You really have problems with that, or you don't really know how to do that. Then you can look through the book and figure out which fairy tale includes that. And if you go back here, you see müssen bleiben oder muss helfen, muss machen oder was noch? Will werfen. So there are lots of example sentences for this specific grammar rule. After finishing this page, I would just stop self-studying and come back to the same fairy tale the next day or in a few days. During that time, in between the sessions, you can always listen to the audio version of the fairy tale. And then in the next session, you can work on page 3 and 4 that belong to the story, where you have the same fairy tale, but some words are missing, so you can do a little bit of vocabulary. And then the last exercise is where you just have notes, and with the help of these notes, you can rewrite the story. That might be really challenging in the beginning, but you can start with really small sentences, short sentences. And if that's too easy for you, and after a year, for example, you come back to this ebook, you can make a really long story out of it and do more than 20 sentences, or make really long sentences with subclauses with different tense. So that's really an exercise that you can adjust to your level as well. So now to recap real quick, the ebook is out now. The link is down in the description box and in the pinned comment. And you can also sign up to one single 1-hour lesson where we are talking about one of the fairy tales, if you have problems self-studying on your own. Ich wünsche dir viel Erfolg und bis bald. Tschüss!